Is Alexander Volkanovski still the king of featherweight, or is he about to be dethroned? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Fight Week is here, and UFC 298 is this Saturday. We're going to go over our predictions for the main card. So, Mark, let's start with the main event. Alexander Volkanovski is defending his featherweight championship against Ilia Topuria. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
It pains me to say, Dwayne, but I think Ilia is going to be able to get it done. As much as I want to cry saying that I think Volkanovski's day is over, I think Ilia, what he brings to the table, his skill set, the dominant performances that he's had in the past, I think that could edge him the decision to be the new featherweight king. What do you think?
I'm going the complete opposite. I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to dominate Ilia Topuria. I think Ilia has not fought someone of this level yet, and he's in for a very, very rude awakening. So I'm going to be very specific as well with my prediction here, Mark. I'm going Alexander Volkanovski 49-46. I think Ilia is going to come out, and he's going to come out very aggressive and look fantastic for the first round. And you know what Volk is like. He reads everything like a book. He's going to take his time that first round and see how fast Ilia is, what his plan is, what his game plan is, and he's going to make huge adjustments, and he's going to dominate those last 4 rounds. I think we might even see Volk drop Ilia, because we've seen Ilia actually get caught a couple times. Don't forget, he got dropped by Jai Herbert. Even Bryce Mitchell managed to get a couple of combinations off, and Ryan Hall did get in a big leg kick. So I think Volk, if he just doubles up, I think he literally, this is how precise I'm going to be. I think 4th round, Volk's going to double up his jab and drop him with a right hook. I genuinely, I can see it happening. I predict these things. Yeah, I'm feeling a mystic reading, or I'm going to be embarrassed and Ilia Topuria is going to just batter Volk and I'll cry.
Yeah, then we just delete this video and the predictions and all that kind of thing. Just dub it over that you said, no, I think Ilia's going to do him.
Yeah,
No,
I've got 100% pick rate, Mark, right? And if anyone says otherwise, it's either AI or it's deepfake, yeah? It's not me saying it, okay?
Well, it's undisputed, undefeated Chael Sonnen, Dwayne on Northernlights. I believe, yeah, it is true, though. You know, Volk, you've said it a million times, though. He comes out, he's a different fighter every single round. Is Ilia going to be able to capitalize on that? Is he going to be able to read him? But man, I don't know. Just them sort of funny feelings coming off Volkanovski's last performance. It was a late notice fight and it was a weight class above, but is it going to shake his confidence? Volkanovski is one of the most dominant champions that we've had for a long time, so he does have that championship mindset. But Ilia's young, he's hungry, he's undefeated. This is what makes us UFC fans. I can't wait to tune in and see.
Yeah, me either. I'm really, really excited for this fight. But on the topic of Volk's last win, do you think that Volk has come in a little bit too early after that head kick loss to Islam Makhachev?
I don't know, because Volk likes to stay active, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And instantly, like he said before, and his mindset changes. He wants to turn his negatives into positives. So he could sit there and say, I'm probably not going to get another shot lightweight, or he could turn it on its head and say, no, I'm the king of featherweight, though. I'm going to go down and prove that I am, like he did last year against Yair Rodriguez. Is he going to come down and absolutely mop the floor with Ilia? If he does, that brings up another interesting topic of what next for him, because he's just completed featherweight then. There's no one else, is there?
I know. There literally will be no more contenders from it. It'll be a tricky one. But there seems to be a lot of narrative that Alexander Volkanovski is too old.
Don't make a headline out of anything these days, huh? It's ridiculous.
I kind of think this is a bit of a ridiculous statement, but what do you think?
I'm in complete agreement there. When has Volkanovski ever looked old? He never has. Even did a little parody video, which is actually quite a good actor, isn't he? It was actually really funny.
He's really good in it. Really, really good.
Like an Australian still game.
I like the PlayStation. Do you like the PlayStation?
The way that he portrayed his character. But I don't get where this has come from, though. He's never once looked old in any fight. Yeah, it was a short notice fight with Islam. I'm not making excuses for him, but, that happens to a lot of fighters, not just Volkanovski. He's the champion, and he's not Tony Ferguson. He's actually bringing it every single time, putting on dominant performances at featherweight. I don't know where this has come from. Is it just to spice it up and make it a big what if factor in this fight? I don't know. It just seems so artificial and false.
Yeah, you could be right. And that's probably such a good point. I think it is just to build this, like, right, Ilya could win because Volk is so old. It does build that sort of that momentum to the fight. Otherwise, it's just there's some young kid here about to fight probably the most dominant featherweight champion of all time, right? So you've got to build in these little narratives, even if they're sometimes unbelievable. But sort of with the build up to this whole fight, Ilia Topuria has been talking a lot of trash. And I think he's even set his Instagram as like he's 15-0 and he's the featherweight champion. And do you think he's going to have to put on the performance of a lifetime to back all this up?
I think Ilya's going to have to absolutely wipe the floor with Volkanovski to back up all this trash talk. He needs to beat him like a red-headed stepchild in order to get the win and to keep going. I didn't even realize then. I just looked at the camera.
Not very nice.
But imagine the shame of him erasing that from his Instagram if Volkanovski beats him. You know, just deleting that one key at a time, backspace. So embarrassing. He needs to absolutely dominate Volkanovski, and he's set his standards a little too high. He's set his goals a little too high because this is Alexander Volkanovski. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like Josh Emmett where what was it, like 50-45 or something like that.
Something crazy, yeah.
Something absolutely dominant. And you know, he's the champion for a reason. Look at the tape. Look at his last fights. Ilya, I don't think you're going to be able to beat him that way.
No.
It's a lot of talk, isn't it?
And I love trash talk. I absolutely love it. You know, some of my favorite fighters are Connor and Shale, and I love that build up. But you have to be able to back it up. You know, and look at Connor in his featherweight run. He talked so much trash, but he was fantastic in the octagon. And the second that you falter, it's embarrassing and you look like an idiot. Same with Paddy, you know, when he fought Jared Gordon, and and he just managed to scrape that. When you think you can't build your fight like this and get battered, it's just not good luck, is it? Look at Colby Covington. The same thing happened to him with Leon Edwards. Talked all this trash, built it all up, and now none of us even care. And the same thing could happen for Ilia Topuria. This could be the end for him before it's even started. So then, Mark, let's move on to the co-main event. One of your favorite fighters, Robert Whittaker, is going against Paulo Costa. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
If the fight happens, I've got to go with Rob. I've got to go with the Reaper. You know, he's a lot more active. He was the dominant champion for a while. So well-rounded compared to Paulo Costa. And I think ring rust could come into it a hell of a lot here, to be honest. The only thing that could maybe knock Rob down a peg is obviously coming off his last loss to DDP, which was obviously probably as heartbreaking for me as it was for Rob, to be honest with you. So, I mean, let's hope that we don't have to relive that horrible night now again. But I just think Rob's going to be able to get it done. It's probably a decision win, I think, because Rob isn't a finishing machine at all. He's got the stamina, he's got the conditioning to go the full 3 rounds. And I just think he's going to be able to keep Costa at bay and just, to be honest, to bring it simple, to jab his head off for 3 rounds.
I agree. I can't not pick Rob. You know, I think, yeah, you can see fighters coming to an end sometimes with their career, and, you know, he's come off that loss to DDP, but Robert Whittaker's a champion, isn't he? You know, and when you've got that champion mindset, you don't let little missteps like this falter. You keep coming back and you keep coming stronger. And I think Whittaker is going to piece up Costa for 3 rounds. I think he's just too technical, too clean. And like you were saying earlier, Paulo Costa's going to have a lot of ring rust. I don't think his physique, his physique's going to be phenomenal. I mean, you know, he's an Adonis. I mean, but his cardio is probably not going to be the level it needs to be. He's not going to be ready, I don't think, for someone like Whittaker. But Mark, like you said at the start, if this fight even happens, does it make it hard for you when Paulo Costa pulls out so much to be even invested in this fight?
Exactly that. Look, I mean, you get injuries happen, they happen to everyone, but when it happens so consistently, you can't get invested in it. You can't even look forward to it until that cage door shuts. I won't be excited for this fight. I don't believe it's going to actually happen. We've said before, we joked before that Paulo pulls out more than Johnny Sins, and I believe that to be true. It's just I can't get excited for a Paulo Costa fight. When he's in the cage, I think he's entertaining as hell. But it's just getting him in that cage. You wonder what is he doing on the side? Because surely he can't be making that much bloody money off his secret juice and sharing memes on Twitter or X or whatever, can you? So, he's got to come in and get a paycheck.
Yeah, definitely. He has to fight at some point, and hopefully he fights. But just like you, Mark, I'm not going to get excited until that cage door is closed. But talking of men pulling out, we move on to Ian Garry. He's going to be fighting Geoff Neal. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
I think Ian Garry by decision. I think he's too long, he's too wiry. I think he's going to be able to keep Geoff at bay. Pepper him with some jabs and leg kicks, just chop him down. But Geoff Neal is no joke either. You've seen the success he had with Shavkat. I think Ian's got his work definitely cut out for him. What do you think? Who do you think is going to take the victory?
Yeah, I'm following you here exactly, Mark. I'm going Ian Garry by decision. Geoff Neal's a fantastic fighter. He's got some great boxing, but I feel like he's real hit and miss, literally. 1 week he's winning, 1 week he's losing. It's really feels like the flip of a coin, 50-50 fighter.
He's the Michael Johnson of the welterweight division.
It really is, isn't it? And I just feel like Ian Garry he's too clean of a striker. He knows what he's doing. He's got great IQ. He's got great ring awareness. I think he's going to just pepper him up, use his long range, and I don't think he's going to finish him. I think he is going to get that decision. But you're right. Geoff Neal showed, even though he did get battered by Shavkat, he did offer a big threat on the feet. So just maybe he could catch Ian Garry, but it's seeming unlikely. But Mark, with Ian Garry and sort of all the backlash of his previous fight with Neil Magny, do you think he'll ever be able to sort of recover his fan base again, or is he just going to be called a cook for the rest of his career?
Well, I think that's inevitable. Nicknames stick whether you like them or not. We've all been through high school, we know that. But I do believe that he can win the fan base back if he just calms down on this persona that he's trying to build, this sort of Conor 2.0 persona. It was embarrassing in the Neil Magny build-up, wasn't it? At the press conferences and all that kind of thing. If you just leave that out, do your talking in the cage, and if there's a rivalry that's brewing, then fair enough, jump on it. But when it just feels so forced and false, you think, just leave it out, mate. No one's bothered that much about it. Stop trying to create something out of nothing. There is no rivalry there. I think Geoff Neal, he probably don't give a hell about Ian Garry.
No,
I was had to censor myself then.
No, I don't think Geoff Neal really cares. He's here to get a paycheck, move through his career, and retire happy. He's not looking to start a big argument and get upset over someone like Ian Garry. And even if Ian Garry kicks off, there's too much ammunition right now. There's all these, and that's going to follow Ian Garry for the rest of his career, no matter what. If he says something, bang, someone's got a free joke on him straight away without any thought. So he's going to have to be really, really careful now with his trash talk moving forward. And just like we said earlier with the whole Ilia thing, I love trash talk, but you've got to back it up and it's got to feel natural. I think that's such a good point is, look at DC and John Jones, the venom in that rivalry. Those two men hate each other and it sells it so well. But if you're just faking hate, I think it makes it corny, doesn't it? And nobody cares.
Yeah, when it's not authentic, no one's buying into it. It's almost like you, as a fan, you feel like you're getting your intelligence tested. Where you're like, oh, this is like a bad 70s wrestling promo. It just doesn't work. Not in this day and age.
No, definitely. And if you're doing that sort of kayfabe gimmick, you've really, really got to lean into it, like Shale, where it's so obvious he's lying, but it works because it is so clear he's lying. Whereas if you just try to force it, it doesn't come off across well, does it? And sort of someone who does force some cringy promos now, we move on to Henry Cejudo. He's going to be fighting Merab. Mark, are you surprised that this fight's so low down in the card, especially with such a big name that Cejudo is?
Yeah, well, it's just how we're used to seeing Cejudo. I know he had that 3-year break where he'd semi-retired, but you're used to seeing him in the main event or always for a title shot. So this is kind of strange to see him, like you say, so low down. It's not even for a title shot. It might be a title eliminator, but who knows about that? He's got his work cut out for him. as Henry in this one, because Merab is no joke, and he's been active and he's been, let's face it, dominant as well. That what he did to Pyotr, that kind of thing as well. I don't know if Henry's bit off more than he can chew, to be honest.
Well, I think you've kind of given me a bit of a clue there, Mark. But what's your prediction for this fight?
Oh, Henry first round knockout. 100%.
You're such a liar.
No, I think Merab by decision. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Henry, but I think he's just going to be able to control the pace, lay on him, neutralize any kind of offense that Henry's going to be able to have. He's a world-class wrestler, is Henry, but I don't know. I think Merab, I think he's just got his number, if I'm honest. And this is the next stepping stone on his way to a bantamweight title shot.
Yeah, you could be right. I've been struggling with this one. I've been going back and forth. And I was leaning Merab, but I think I've changed my mind. I think Henry Cejudo, like Robert Whittaker, he's a champion, isn't he? He's a winner. He's a gold medalist. He's this top elite fighter. And I think after that loss to Aljamain Sterling, I think he's going to come out and try and prove a point. I think with someone like Merab, you know what Merab's going to do. He's going to shoot and shoot and shoot. And I think Henry Cejudo's too smart, too clever, and he's just too good. I think he's going to get a decision win over Merab. Don't forget, this is only over 3 rounds. I think Cejudo's wrestling is too high for someone like Merab. I think he's going to keep stuffing him, and he's going to catch him with something big coming in and out. And don't forget, Cejudo's actually a fantastic striker. Like he came into the UFC as a wrestler, but left a kickboxer. Like he comes out with this big, wide karate stance. It's like, why is a wrestler doing that? But it's amazing what he can do, and I think we're going to see something special here. But we'll have to wait and see. No, Mark, with Cejudo, this feels real make or break, doesn't it? If he loses, this could be the end of his career. If he wins, he could get a title shot. Do you think the winner of this fight, especially with how high Merab is in the division and the name value that Cejudo has, do you think the winner gets a title shot?
I think you can definitely put forward an argument for both of them getting a title shot. So I think this makes complete sense. You've got Cejudo, who when he was retired and he was just throwing anything at the wall, hoping it'd stick to get him a comeback fight. He was with Sean O'Malley, back and forward with him. Then you've got Merab. I know it's a little or nothing, where he wore Sean's Thriller jacket sort of thing, and he's Aljamain's mate, isn't he? So you've got that built in as well. So it's like, I'll do what Aljamain couldn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a bit too Star Wars-esque there. I'm trying to build a storyline. But yeah, I think it does make sense. Cejudo's one of those, when you said make or break, he said after his last performance with Aljamain that if he's not the best, then he doesn't know why he's here. If he loses, I think this could be the last time that we see Cejudo in the UFC. If he wins, I think he's going to be all guns blazing for this title shot. Same with Merab as well. Now Aljamain isn't in that division. It's cleared the path for him. He doesn't have to fight any of his pals. He can just go forward, go for Sugar Sean, which makes this fight a lot more interesting. It's not just a dull fight. It's not just a fight at night. If when it feels like a title eliminator, it adds that much more excitement.
Definitely. And that's the thing, isn't it? With this fight, that's why I'm so surprised it's so low down in the card, because this fight has a lot of stakes. The winner of this has to fight Sean O'Malley next, or maybe Chito Vera, but
doubtful. Come on, let's just skin over that. Yeah, not going to happen, pal. My betting slip will say that though.
But yeah, I think with Merab's sort of the run that he's been on and the fights that he's put on, if he wins, he has to get the title shot. It's unfair, isn't it, if he doesn't? But like we said a million times before, the UFC don't make fair fights. They make what's good for business. And Henry Cejudo is good for business, isn't he? He's got a fantastic name value. Cejudo versus Sean O'Malley, I mean, that is a fight and a half, isn't it? I mean, that sells like hotcakes. So that could be great for in the summer, couldn't it? It'd be really, really fun.
Oh, 100%. It's that's what's keeping me interested in this fight as well. I'm kind of hoping that Henry wins, just so we get the King of Cringe versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Can you imagine those press conferences? It's going to be insane, isn't it? That's what I'm hoping, but whether or not it happens, we'll have to see this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But Mark, sort of looking at this main card, and if you compare it to UFC 299 and 300, and with those two cards being so big, does this card feel a little lackluster in comparison?
I wouldn't say lackluster. It just feels like the starting point of a trifecta of fantastic UFC events. This feels like, pardon the comparison, it feels like the Royal Rumble in the lead up to WrestleMania. So you've got the Royal Rumble, you've got the scop off beforehand, and then you've finally got the big payoff, which is UFC 300. I believe that I haven't really looked at it in that sense of it being lackluster. I've just seen it as 3 fantastic consecutive UFC events, which I'm fortunate enough that I've, booked them off work so we can live stream them all and we can watch them and just be tired little boys in the morning because Dana doesn't like the UK fan base apparently.
Terrible, isn't it? And UFC 298 might not be the biggest pay-per-view coming up, but I'm still incredibly excited for it and I cannot wait. And like Mark just said, we will be doing a live watch along, so make sure you pop in and say hello. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.